Welcome in. This is Strictly Strings. This is page 32. Now you might have been YouTubing Baby Shark, but you found this, which is even better, because you get to learn F natural. That's right. Pretty exciting stuff. There's actually a lot of things that we'll be learning here on this particular page. Page 32 has a couple of major concepts. You ready? Okay then, here we go. Number 1, if you look at the key signature, the thing that has either the sharps or the flats in it, if you notice that there are none in it, that means everything is natural, just like the Lego movie told us. Everything is natural! A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now that's great. That seems like, all right, cool, simple. Everything's the same. Challenge with that is you've been playing F sharps for the last 32 pages, which means that when you have to start thinking F natural, your body will think high 2 if you're a violin or a viola, third finger if you're a cellist, and fourth finger if you're a bassist. So just like on page 30 when we learned about C natural, we now get to apply that same concept. Same concept. You already know this. The same concept to playing F natural or F instead of F sharp, which has been the altered note forever. And there's a reason we learn it that way. There are patterns that are more consistent on our string instruments, but now that you're so advanced, we have to start thinking about different patterns on different strings. So that's one big thing. You'll notice in the box above the page, it'll show your left hand and the notes that you need for this. You've got open D, first finger E, F natural, which for violins and violas, you'll see the fingers are quite close. For the cellos, our normal spacing applies, but it's first and second finger. And then you'll notice with the basses, because everything is massive, E and then F natural for the basses. So that's something to pay attention to. Something else that we learn on this page is the fermata. And the fermata is just a symbol to sort of hold the last note or hold a note for a longer period of time. So it might be like this. If you're singing, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear baby shark. That note has a fermata on it, baby shark. Just means to hold the note longer than it might be written for. So when you see the symbol of the fermata, your job is to listen and make sure you're paying attention to what everyone else is around you doing so that you don't end the note before them. Or make sure you're looking up at the conductor because they might be helping you figure out when it is that you're supposed to stop. So now, that's a lot of information, but there's a bigger thing, and it's called the dotted quarter note. We have a new rhythm. Now you know what a quarter note is. In 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 time signatures, when that bottom number is a 4, we know that quarter note gets one beat, huh, and that's great. We know that, which means that half notes get 2 beats. And then you learn that a dotted half note gets 3 beats, and you might remember that the dot next to a note is half the value of the note it is attached to. So if a half note is worth 2 beats and then we add a dot to it, 2 plus 1 is 3, because 1 is half of 2 and the dot is half the value of whatever note it's attached to. So that's more complicated when we have to go to quarter notes, because now we have to think smaller subdivisions, and that means we have to go from quarter notes to eighth notes. So if you look at the box at the top of the page, you'll see it says dotted quarter note. Then you'll see a quarter note with a dot next to it. And then below it, you'll see 3 eighth notes, beep, 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 with a slur or a tie connecting those eighth notes. This is a visual representation of the amount of time you would have inside a dotted quarter note. You would have 1.5 beats if you were in a time signature where the bottom number is a 4. You'll see that the counts are also written. This is to help your eyes get used to filling that time and dividing accurately, so that if you have a dotted quarter note and then an eighth note, that you know that 3 eighth notes will be dedicated to that dotted quarter note, and then you'll have the final eighth note to fill out those 2 beats. So for example, if we were going to clap the dotted quarter note eighth note rhythm that you see in that box, it would be 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So let's figure this out, shall we? Go ahead and let's start looking at all the different examples of that information. So on page 32, number 1, look at the key signature. 1 sharp, isn't there? That means every F in the entire exercise has been morphed into an F sharp. That's the power of the key signature. That 1 sharp lasts the entire piece, unless you see the natural symbol. So here's 1A. You can either play this on your instrument with your bow, or you can do pizzicato, or you can just say the note names with me. I'll play it on the piano while also saying the note names. Ready? Page 32, number 1, A. Ready? D and E and F sharp and F natural. F sharp because of the key signature. That's right. F natural because of the natural sign. That's right. Look at the B section. We have D, F sharp because of the key signature. D, F natural because of the symbol of the natural. And then if you look at section C, we have D, E, F natural because of the symbol, F sharp because that natural would have lasted the entire measure, so you had to add a sharp or else it wouldn't go back to F sharp automatically until the next measure. G, F sharp because the key signature now is back and all powerful, making every F into an F sharp. And then the last measure is an F natural because of the natural symbol, and then open D. Here's that whole C section again without all the explanations. Ready? Section C. D, E, F natural, F sharp, G, F sharp, F natural, D. Applying the key signature and remembering where those natural symbols are, it's a lot of new things for your eyes to take in. Same concept, look down at the C major scale. Now, we have no sharps in the key signature. It means everything is natural. Thank you, Lego Movie. Which you may or may not feel comfortable playing. So they've put a couple of reminders in. They've put some fingerings in to remind you of which finger to use, and they've also put the arrows in. Remember that you're almost never going to see arrows in music later. In this method book, they're just using it so that you can remember how to do it. They want you to be successful. So I'm going to play the C major scale, and you can go ahead and either say the note names, or you can pizzicato, or you can bow right along with me. What I suggest is that when we finish this exercise through, you can stop the video, go back a little bit, and repeat multiple times until you feel comfortable. Ready? C major scale. C, D, first finger E, F natural, because no sharps, G, A, B, and C natural, because there are no sharps. C natural, because there are no sharps. B, A, G, F natural, because there's no sharps. E, D, and C. No sharps, everything's natural. I recommend going up and down that scale multiple times so you can start feeling what it's like to play a low second finger F natural and then G. Or if you're a cellist, a second finger F natural and then a G. Or if you're a bassist, making sure that we have first finger E and then up to F natural so you can feel that distance and that space. Really great thing to practice. So the first two exercises help you with those low second fingers. Well, so does the next exercise, but they make it even more complicated because now they want to help you also learn about the dotted quarter note value. So just if you look at number 3, it gives you straight eighth notes. Okay. Then if you look at number 4, it still gives you straight eighth notes, but now they've put a tie on 3 of them. Does that look familiar? That's right. It's the same as the picture at the top of the page. They're trying to remind you, remember, this is a dotted quarter note, and inside a dotted quarter note, you'll have 3 eighth notes. That's how much space fills a dotted quarter note. And then number 5, there it is, the actual dotted quarter note with the eighth note rhythm. Now number 4 and number 5 are going to sound exactly the same, except for the last measure, because they chose not to continue the pattern. But number 4 and number 5 are exactly the same, even though they look very, very different. Because 3 C's tied together equal 1 dotted quarter note. So you can see the visual math and the visual spacing of how 3 eighth notes fit inside the dotted quarter note. So let's do each of these exercises. Here's number 3. Ready? 1 and 2 and C, 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 D, 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 E, 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 F natural, because there are no sharps. E, 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 D, 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 C, C, G, G, C, 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 C. You definitely want to make sure you repeat that a couple of times just so you feel comfortable finding that F natural. Your body's going to want to play an F sharp because it's been playing F sharp for months. We're adding F natural to the notes that are available to your left hand, and it's time to train it. But here's number 4. Same notes, new rhythm, very different visual. Here we go. Page 32, number 4. Ready, and go. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and F natural and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Notice when I'm counting that the 8th note always stays the same. I make sure to fill the time evenly, and it's always the same. But now with the tie, I'm just allowing that subdivision to have me fill that sense of time accurately. If you say, I'll be there in 5 minutes, and you show up 20 minutes later, the individuals that you're working with are going to wonder where you were, be worried about you, or think, their time is not valuable because you were late. It's a responsibility to make sure that we communicate exactly what our intentions are. Well, it's also really important that when we see rhythms that we do the values precisely, because they're going to fit into a much larger picture when we all are playing different parts. You are going to have to play your rhythm, and potentially someone else in the orchestra will have different notes and different rhythms at the same time. So this is a great time to really pay attention to subdivision. Number 5, same as number 4. I'm still going to count out loud, and you should still have the numbers underneath the notes so that you can follow along with your eyes. Here we go. Number 5. Ready, and go. And 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and F natural and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and done. Now, a lot of young musicians sometimes have a hard time sustaining their sound. So we want to make sure if we've been told to play a dotted quarter note or to play a half note, that we make sound throughout that sense of time. So for example, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and not 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Fill the time with sound, not 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. That's a different rhythm. So make sure you fill that time with sound. Those are hard exercises. You get to apply both of those ideas, the low second fingers and the dotted quarter notes, in the next 2 pieces. Number 6 is All Through the Night, and number 7, Shepherd's Hay. With All Through the Night, let's just review all the things you already know. You know piano dash forte. You know first time soft, second time loud. You know 4th finger A's if you're a violin or viola. You know ties. You know DC al fine. DC, da capo, go back to the beginning and end at the word fine. So find where the DC is, find where the beginning of the piece is, and then find where fine is. The new ideas. The fermata. You'll notice that the last measure that you see written is a fermata, which means you can hold it as long as you wish. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And just hold that F sharp for as long as you can until the audience gets uncomfortable. And then back to the beginning. 1 and 2 and 3. Fermatas, you can hold them for more than what's written in the note value. A couple other hard things for us. You've done this before, but we have 4th finger E's. 4th finger E's for the violas and the cellos have not been as common so far. So cellos, you have to shift and put your second finger on a high D, and violas, make sure that hand is in a position where you can get your pinky around the instrument so you can still play from above the fingerboard. Now let's take a look at this key signature, shall we? We have one sharp, F sharp, which means that every F in the entire piece is up to F sharp. So high second fingers for violins and violas, third fingers for cellists, and fourth finger for bassists. But that means only Fs have been turned into F sharp, so that means every other note is natural, and the one that's going to make us a little bit confused is that instead of playing C sharps, we're playing C natural. So if I scan through, I see C naturals starting on the second line. C, B, C, D. But you might say there aren't any naturals, and I would say that's because they don't have to have any. Since there aren't any sharps in the key signature, you don't have to put a natural sign on C, because it's already natural. It's just the way it is. It is a C, and a C natural. But you don't have to put the natural sign because there's no sharp to cancel it. Now let's also look at this new dotted quarter note rhythm. At the very beginning, you get the opportunity to go 1 and 2 and. You get to subdivide through the long note, making sure you sustain the sound. Happens again in measure 3. 1 and 2 and. Happens again in measure 6. 1 and 2 and. And then it happens again right before the DC. 1 and 2 and. So you get to practice the dotted quarter note rhythm 4 times. Nice to have the practice. So let's go ahead and play all the way through it. Now remember, I'll play it once. I recommend that what you do is that you stop the video, go back, listen to it, make sure you're counting, make sure you're clapping, make sure you're doing all those things necessary. You need to have multiple repetitions to feel comfortable with all this new material. So here it is. Here is your template to make sure you're matching the rhythms, the sounds, and the notes. Here we go. 1 and 2 and ready and go. And 1 and 2 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 and 1. Repeat. Ready, measure 1 and 1 and 2 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 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and second line C natural 1 and 2 and 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 DC al fine means go back to the beginning. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 2 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and done. Lots of things to consider there. So you might want to make sure that you're saying the note names while I'm counting, matching the piano. You might want to try just air bowing so you can feel the length of the notes. You might want to just clap. There's a lot of different things that you could practice while listening to that accompaniment. And here's the last one, page 32, number 7. You notice this one does not have any dotted quarter notes, but what it does have is lots of naturals. There are no sharps and no flats in the key signature. So we have F natural, E, F, G, F, F. All those low second fingers for violins and violas, just second finger for us cellists, and then second finger for the basses because everything you do is massive. You do get to also pay attention to slurred staccato, and you also get to practice the DC al fine. Lots of things you just get to work on. So let's go ahead and play Shepherd's Hay, and what I'm going to do is play the melody and say the note names just because we have so many of the new note F natural. Ready? 3 and 4 and E, F natural, G, E, F, F, E, F, G, D, D, G, E, F, G, E, F, E, F, G, C, repeat, and E, F, G, E, F, F, E, F, G, E, D, G, E, F, G, E, F, E, F, G, G, C, second section, E, C, F natural, E, C, D, E, F, G, E, F natural, E, F, G, B, C natural, repeat, and E, C, F natural, because there aren't any sharps, E, C, D, and ready, and E, F, G, E, F, E, F, G, B, C natural beginning, D, C, E, F, G, E, F, F, E, F, G, E, D, G, E, F, G, E, F, E, F, G, G, C, fine. And that's where we finish. And that's page 32. Lots of things to break down, lots of things to work through. Nice job. And remember to take your time. These are new concepts. They're going to take a while for you to learn. The best way to do it is to make sure to think while you're playing and to not do too much. Do small chunks of music. Make sure you're really counting it. Make sure you're really making a great sound. Make sure you're really pulling the bow in the correct direction. Take time to save time. It'll be more efficient and you'll feel better about your progress. And as we know, if you do end up practicing every day, by the end of the year, you'll be taller.